Hey everybody, Brambleheart here. So, the 5th episode of Daredevil Born Again Season 2, The Grand Design, released recently, and I've got to say that it's probably my favorite of the entire show so far. Some people are saying it drags on, but I believe it is a big strength of this episode in the sense that the message and themes are pretty self-contained. Besides the immediate aftermath of the previous episode, that is shown in a slow burn kind of way, this episode doesn't focus on tying up every loose end or teasing what comes next. Instead, we're able to just watch the character arcs and absorb the themes and lessons. Today, I want to talk about the main theme of this episode, and that is mercy, how important it is, even when it comes to those you might not be a fan of. It's not surprising when you peel away the surface plot of Vanessa's last moments alongside Daredevil and Bullseye's escape from the AVTF, and see that pretty much every character arc and flashback goes back to the core theme of mercy. I say almost because the only character who I think doesn't fit that is Wilson Fisk himself, but I'll get to that later since I do think that's intentional and important. I'm going to break down each of these character arcs and flashbacks and show how they go back to the theme of mercy and what it means for the show. First, I want to talk about Daniel and Buck's story. Daniel is in some hot water in this episode. Not only did BB scrape his computers to leak confidential footage for her satire videos, she then leaked Vanessa's condition to the news despite it being under wraps. Like, I get it, BB, I do, but you're putting yourself and your friend at risk here, and you need to be more careful. So, it's pretty obvious to Buck that Daniel is indirectly involved in this. Buck invites Daniel to a road trip to buy hot dogs, but it's actually a trip to Albany. When Buck tells Daniel this, Daniel is reasonably afraid for his life. Especially when Buck starts talking about loyalty in his time in Afghanistan committing war crimes, as he had been ordered to do. This whole time, Daniel thinks he's going to die, and this gets even worse when Buck goes to an outdoor store to get a saw and a shovel, and then orders Daniel to drive to the middle of nowhere. Much to Daniel's relief, however, Buck doesn't want to kill him. Instead, he asks for Daniel's help to bury the bodies of actual dead people. We don't know if Daniel will actually follow through, but most likely he will. This arc in the episode shows Buck sparing Daniel when he very well could have, and if Buck truly is Wesley 2.0, should have, taken him out right then, right there. But this doesn't happen. I think it's because Buck sees a lot of himself in Daniel. Daniel wants to prove himself as a loyal friend to both BB and Fisk. Similarly, Buck also has his desire to be loyal, whether it be for his country or Kingpin. Instead of killing Daniel, Buck uses this as a teaching moment to scare Daniel straight and show what being loyal really means when it comes to Fisk. Daniel is now in a position where he has to choose BB or Fisk. Buck's mercy will either earn himself and Fisk another loyal ally, or someone who's able to wake up and rot them from within. Now for the elephant in the room when it comes to mercy, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this episode so bad, Matt and Foggy's story. We get a flashback all the way to the Landman and Zack days, where Matt and Foggy have to take on a case. Turns out they're representing Foggy's childhood bully, Ray. Not Ray Nadeem from the original show. This guy's real name is Lionel, but he goes by Ray. Ray is still very much a bully, calling Foggy names and insulting Matt's blindness. But they represent him anyways, as is their job. Matt and Foggy think they're doing the right thing by encouraging Ray to sign a plea deal, but they're unknowingly working for a corrupt firm that wants Ray dead for Fisk. Ray tells them this, saying that there are people waiting at the jail to kill him, so he doesn't sign the plea, knowing he's dead anyways. Back at the dinosaur office, Foggy finds an error in the legal forms. Ray's address is wrong. He and Matt identify this as a literal get-out-of-jail-free card. Foggy is ecstatic at the news, wanting to free Ray and get him somewhere safe. But Matt? Not quite so. I've seen people say that this is out of character. Wouldn't Matt be the one advocating for mercy? Not necessarily so. We see time and time again that Matt's compassionate traits are reinforced by the influence and teachings of Foggy. In Season 3 of the original show, Matt's morals are turned upside down, and Foggy's reminders to Matt of who he truly is was why Matt ended up sticking to his morals in the end, and didn't end up killing Fisk or Dex. And during this part of Matt's life, he was also having a morality crisis. We know that before Matt and Foggy got the building for their own law firm, Matt couldn't take doing nothing to help his neighborhood anymore, and took things into his own hands as a vigilante. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. Seeing how this flashback would have been in the months or even weeks before Nelson and Murdoch opened, Matt was definitely having that moral crisis at this time. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if the events I'm about to talk about were direct influences of Matt's boundaries he upholds as Daredevil to this day. Matt points out that Ray is involved with the mob. He's a textbook bully in that he's part of the drug ring. He's hurting people and making the city a worse place. In Matt's eyes, Ray deserves jail, and whatever happens to him next is out of anyone's control except for God, which is in very line with his work as Daredevil. Beating people up, turning them in, and leaving the system or fate to do the rest. Foggy, on the other hand, wants to intervene. If Ray doesn't go to jail, he has a chance to start a better life and get away from crime. Ray didn't have a good childhood and was doomed to this pipeline due to the cracks in the system. Foggy points out that Matt's faith is built upon mercy, and that directly stopping a man from going to what is most likely his death is incredibly merciful, whatever the reason. Matt relents and Ray ends up being free to go home. We then see Foggy enter Ray's apartment and give him money. This money was the funds that Matt and Foggy had been saving to start their firm. Ray takes the money and talks about how good of a friend Foggy was to his brother, reminiscing on old sleepovers as kids. Later on, we see that Ray took Foggy's advice and was able to escape an assassination by none other than Buck himself. Matt and Foggy probably never learned how close to death Ray was at that moment, and that money literally saved his life so soon after it was given to him. Foggy apologizes to Matt for giving away the money, but Matt forgives Foggy, having learned the importance of mercy that day. The Foggy flashbacks made me tear up big time, especially since they were intertwined with the scenes of Matt and Dex on the run after Dex fatally wounded Vanessa. Dex had been shot and his condition worsens to the point where Matt has to carry him around. Dex repeatedly begs Matt to leave him to die. In his eyes, Dex balanced the scale and atoned for killing Foggy by killing Vanessa. But again, Matt doesn't see it that way and insists on not leaving Dex behind. You see, Matt almost broke his moral code as Daredevil again when Foggy was killed, having thrown Dex off the roof of a 4-story building with the intent to kill. But Dex survived miraculously. Matt uses Dex's analogy of balancing the scales and atoning for his own sin, and is set on saving Dex in an act of mercy that he didn't do before. Matt brings Dex to his church, where they hide. Dex still convinces Matt that helping him isn't worth it. When Matt mentions that there are people here to help him, Dex says that people are who they are and no one lawyer or doctor can change a life, which is massively disproven by the flashback with Foggy that Matt remembers in real time. The ABTF raids the church, and Matt ends up running without Dex. But then it cuts to the flashback of Matt learning from Foggy the importance of showing mercy even to your enemies. Matt realizes that Foggy wouldn't want Dex to be left behind when Matt is in the position to show mercy and save his life. So, right after we see and Matt remembers celebrating his act of mercy with Foggy, the show cuts to Matt offering his hand to save Dex, the man who took Foggy away from him. And when Matt reaches his hideout where Karen awaits him, Dex is unconscious but alive, with Matt carrying him like when my cat thought he was bringing prey as a gift, but it was actually a live bat. Oh, Karen's gonna be pretty mad at this. This sequence shows why Matt is a hero, while Dex and Fisk are villains. While Dex wants to redeem himself, his means of doing so are inherently flawed and involve death rather than mercy. By killing Vanessa, Dex unleashed Pandora's box of Fisk's rage and wrath on the city. If Vanessa had been spared, things would be better for the city. Remember that the last time a kingpin lost his Vanessa, the entire multiverse got ripped apart. And with Matt showing mercy to Dex, despite the man's crimes and murder of Foggy, perhaps a temporary and situational allyship is on the way. Note the temporary and situational, though. Maybe Dex will be a key part in taking Fisk down. We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of Fisk, he's the only character that strikes me of not having an arc following mercy. He spends the entire episode anxious about Vanessa, and then he eventually watches her die. Even in the flashbacks, he's focused on diversifying his funds to art and Bitcoin, not learning why mercy is important like everyone else did. And I think that's setting up his city-wide wrath next episode. Fisk is not going to show any mercy, now that he has nothing to lose. And with all the power he has, that will be devastating to everyone in New York City. Foggy's lesson of mercy even strikes a chord with Vanessa's death scene, thanks to what he taught us, plus the magnificent acting on Vincent D'Onofrio's part. You start to feel bad for Kingpin. He's very vulnerable, very human here. Same with Vanessa being weak and horrified by Kingpin's behavior. For a moment, I was hoping things would work out, even if the Fisks are horrible people. So, those are my thoughts on the episodes handling the theme of mercy. I, for one, agree with how important it is, especially during the times we live in. Everything now is so polarized in black and white that we forget that people on the other side of things are who they are. People. Human beings. And whenever we have the opportunity to, let's choose mercy and honor Foggy's memory and example. Thanks for watching, everyone.
So where to now? Josie's. Obviously. What are we celebrating? Mercy.